Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Comesa Radio Africa, the mind, the journey, the destiny. We apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. That is our philosophy. We inform and entertain, we develop and educate, we empower and support, we associate and network. That is the idea. This is our professionals series. We have with us Dr. Fundiswa Nofemela. I'm learning to call you Doc for the first time today. Congratulations, my sister. It is a great achievement. I know you've been very quiet about it. Unfortunately, today we're going to be very explicit and vocal and congratulate you openly here at Comesa Radio Africa. Well done. Greetings.
Greetings. Thank you. Thank you very much, Prasem.
Yes.
It is an honor to be with you.
Lovely. Tell us first, before we go into telling the listeners who you are, what achievement, what is it on? What was your thesis? Where did you get your doctorate? And just tell a little bit of story to inspire others out there. We were not ready for this.
All right. Okay. Prasem, my doctoral studies were centered around my work that I do daily. It's centered around the work readiness of young graduates. I'm very passionate about the level of readiness for young graduates as they venture into the world of work. So my doctoral thesis was evaluating a training intervention that aims to prepare students for easy transition into the world of work. I did the studies with the Cape Peninsula University of Technology, Faculty of Education. So it falls within the work integrated learning sphere that I'm working in. But the training intervention itself was it originates from Japan. It's based on the Kaizen principles of continuous improvement. And what we aim to do with that intervention is to apprise our students about how they can add value in the world of work when they join it, and actually getting themselves ready for that transition. So my study was really about evaluating the effectiveness of that intervention.
Wow, sure. You are not just passionate about work-integrated learning, you are actually very much making it part of your life. This is great stuff. I'm sure, and I'm glad that we studied this way, because I think it is very important that we take it to that level where we don't just talk theory, but we do research it and we do produce thesis as you did. Well done. Great stuff. We're going to come back to that.
Thank you.
Now let's go back and start where it all started. Here at Comesa Radio Africa, we want to simplify things and say to the listeners that people don't just fall from anywhere. They are a project of their parents. Somewhere they are born, and somebody take the baby steps with them and show them the way. And I'm sure that is nothing different to you. Where were you born?
Okay. I'm told I was born in the Eastern Cape, in a small town or a small village called Dordrecht. It's very close to Lady Frey. I was born there because my father was a civil servant who was transferred from town to town, city to city, province to province. So I was born in Dordrecht, but I did not stay long there. I then, because my father was relocating from place to place, we then had moved to Port Elizabeth. I was apparently still a toddler when we moved to Port Elizabeth. So one could say, yes, I was born in the Eastern Cape, but my formative years really were then in different places, because I believe, I'm told again, when I was 4 years old, we were visiting my grandmother, because my paternal grandmother was in Heidelberg, in Ratanda, in Heidelberg. We were apparently visiting there with my dad, and I just fell in love with my granny, and I took a decision that I'm not going back to Port Elizabeth.
Wow. Are you your parents' first child?
No, I'm the second born, but I'm the eldest daughter.
I see.
They were a family. We're 6 children. At home, I'm the second. I'm the second born.
Wow.
Yeah. So I grew up in Ratanda, and then I think when I went to do sub B or something, I moved back to the Transkei with my grandmother, and I ended up staying in the Transkei in Umtata. I ended up staying there until I was in standard 2. That's when then I went to Cape Town. By this time, my parents were in Cape Town. So, and then I went and joined my parents in Cape Town, and I think, yeah, that's where I.
With this introduction, you have just answered one of the questions that I was going to ask you later in the interview, but because you have answered it, I actually want to bring it forward. Now it explains why are you so highly mobile. why you are so highly mobile. I mean, I've always thought you are a Capetonian, and when you made a move to the KZN, I thought, my goodness, how is that practical? Now you are explaining to me that you are born in the family of highly mobile people, highly mobile parents.
Yes, I could say so. Yes, I think yes, we were as we are a family of 6. I don't think any 2 of us were born at the same time.
Wow!
Out of all the 6 children, we were all born in different towns. That's because my father was a court interpreter, so he was being transferred from town to town.
Okay,
yes.
That explains it. But let's go back. Who are the Nofemelas?
All right. Singamakwat. Our clan name, Gamakwati. Onzila. We have our roots in Lady Frey, but my paternal family had relocated to Ratanda. Long ago, such that the origins in Lady Frey are really just in name. When I talk about home, I'm referring to Ratanda when I'm talking
in Gauteng.
my ancestral home. In Gauteng, yes. So you can see I'm all over, really.
Now, as children, we always identify with a particular locality as the place of fond youth memories. Now, your case, it's going to be a little bit challenging, I guess, as you were so highly mobile.
Yes, it is. It's very challenging for me to identify with a particular place. Ratanda has a special place in my heart, probably because I was very fond of my grandmother. So I was called my grandmother's walking stick. because wherever she went, I went. So I think Ratanda, I have a bit of an attachment to Ratanda because of that. Cape Town is a home because my parents' home is there. But if you say to me, where's home, especially now that I'm here, I would always say it's in Ratanda and in Cape Town.
Yes.
So I can't divorce myself from Ratanda.
Yeah, and you can't divorce yourself from Cape Town either.
And I can't divorce myself from Cape Town because I think very much part of who I am today originates in Cape Town because that's where the schooling took place. I could say, the formative years in education.
So you don't get excited with this a new concept of short left. It means nothing to you. Where we're trying to encourage people to explore their own country. For you, it has always been the case.
For me, it's always been the case. You know, Prasam, how people were so shocked. I think you're not the only one that was shocked when I relocated to KZN. In fact, people in Cape Town wanted to ask if I was okay. Are you okay? What went wrong?
Everybody wants to come to this beautiful part of the world called Cape Town, and you are just taking a great trek to KwaZulu Natal.
KwaZulu Natal, and remember, KwaZulu Natal has always been portrayed in a particular manner in the media. So people were very scared. Are you okay? I mean, it looks like this is a desperate move. What are you running away from? And I'm like, I'm not running away from anything. I'm finding an opportunity. I'm grateful.
We will touch on that in terms of how we manage our professional life. One of the, and that's my experience, that one of the real issues of concern for South African professionals and workers, except the migrant workers, they just go where the job is. But professionals tend to really short-circuit themselves by not being readily available to move from one place to another. And I think sometimes certain sectors and certain industries like mining, you've got to be where the work is. It doesn't matter whether it's somewhere in the forest or down in the rural areas. You go where the work is if you really seriously wanting to manage your career. What do you say to that?
Certainly. It's one of the things that I emphasize when I speak to final year students, and as we prepare them for the world of work, to say you gotta be flexible, you gotta be willing to move out of your comfort zone. For me specifically, I think having that mindset is one of the things that has groomed me, because when my experience is not from one specific area, but I am, I'm very diverse. I think you will also hear when I speak about my education that honestly, this is a strange being because I touch on everything. So for us to grow in our professions, I think we've got to be able to venture out and experience other things and other areas. It was one of the shocking things for people when I left Cape Town, CPUT. It's a big institution. It's a multiracial institution. It's not struggling financially. And I moved to not just KZN, but to an institution in a township that is known to be struggling. And people were saying, there has to be something that is making you to move. Why would you? They saw it as kind of a downgrading of some sort. But my view with taking that move was, if I stay here, this is all I know. But I want to go and experience life in a struggling institution. But above all, can't make a difference in an established environment. You've got to go to where if you're serious about making a difference, go to where you are going to really have to work hard and really have to entrench yourself so that you make a difference. Now, the student body in these two institutions is very, very different, and I think it has built me.
Wow. Let's go back again. So, how were your primary school days like? Again, I imagine you changed schools quite a lot. And let's say primary up to high school. Which schools did you go to? And if we can just sort of like speed it up to a point where you are in grade 12, because I'm very interested to find out at what point did you become very much interested in what you were going to study post high school.
Oh, okay. All right. I started school in Ratanda, obviously, because I was there. And my aunt was a teacher, so I started going with her to school.
Oh, you had no choice but to become a good scholar. The aunt was a teacher.
Yes. She actually wanted me to be a teacher. She was very disappointed that I didn't become a teacher.
Yeah.
So I started school there. Obviously, I was in Transkei, in Namtata until standard 2, then moved to Cape Town. So the rest of the education was in Cape Town. But in Cape Town, after the riots, the 1982, 1981, 1982 riots, I didn't go back to the township schools. I then went into the then colored schools, and one of the first African children to go into that kind of environment. So I was there until that's where I finished my grade 12. So yeah.
And which subjects did you choose, or which subject did they choose for you? Because
exactly. It is about which subjects did they choose for you,
or which subjects were on offer.
Yeah. When we were growing up, particularly at the high school where I started, they would look at how you are performing and then channel you where they thought you needed to go.
Yeah.
For an example, I wanted to do domestic science. And my teacher said, you're not going to do domestic sciences, you're going to do maths and you're going to do maths and physics. So I was doing maths and physics, but when I moved into the colored schools, there was no physics, I think. So then I did history, math, kind of, that mixed basket of subjects.
Yeah,
History,
they call them general streams.
The general streams. So that's what I was doing. But I was also doing biology. And because at that time, I knew that I didn't want to be a teacher. I had a choice of careers that I wanted to go into. I wanted to be a lawyer. So I guess history was okay, as much as I was struggling with it. But my other choice was I wanted to be a social worker. The third choice later became biomedical sciences. And I think why that also came into the mix is that I wanted to also be, I had an interest in being in the medical field. But I knew that I can't stand blood, I can't stand open wounds. So I knew that I didn't want to be a nurse nor a doctor, but I wanted to be in that space. So I then discovered biomedical technology. Of course, my parents were like, what? What's that? Do you even have people
Tell me, was there any influence from the so-called career guidance teachers? Where were you getting insights about these various options?
Where I went to school, we were in Athlone in Cape Town. There was a place called Creek. I can't even. That is an acronym. I can't remember but I think it had something to do with careers. So we used to go there. Then those people helped us. So that's where I heard about biomedical technology.
Yes.
Because when I said, I would like to be a doctor, but I'm very scared of wounds and blood and whatever. So they said, okay, but you could either do physiotherapy or you could do medical technology. And I said, okay, I'm interested in it.
Yeah.
And I also liked the fact that I would wear a white coat. I would look like a doctor.
I guess the word technology must have been quite very appealing.
It was. I think, no, not necessarily technology, but it was the biomedical part. It was the medical part that was appealing because I think it spoke to the fact that I wanted to be a doctor.
And did that become your choice? And did you get the right grades to qualify for that direction?
That became my choice. I got the right grades. But unfortunately, maybe to just take a step back, because you're probably asking yourself then, you spoke about law, and but now it's not coming in. I don't know whether I should say unfortunately or fortunately, I became a young mother.
Oh, okay. Before you went to the university?
As I was still in high school.
Yes.
So I had to make very matured decisions.
Yes.
So law had to be taken out of the equation because I wasn't going to be able to be in a university for 7 years when you have a child to
look after.
To bring up, to look after. And that's when I then started to consider the other things. And biomedical also, the other thing that was appealing about it was that I would be employed while I was studying. So it was like, okay,
one of those practice-oriented type of qualifications.
Of qualifications. So I got into that. But yes, I was in Cape Town. Cape Town was a colored preferential area. So I couldn't get an institution in Cape Town. I had to then I was then accepted at...
you must have wished you were a little bit much lighter in complexion, eh?
Sorry?
I said you must have wished you must have wished that you were a bit more lighter in complexion then. That you could,
a bit more lighter in complexion.
Yeah, that you could actually qualify to go to the colored schools.
Yeah. So I remember I went to the then Peninsula Technicon.
Yes.
And I didn't get a very good reception there because they said no. They would make an excuse to say, but you need to be employed before you can come. In fact, maybe I mustn't say it was an excuse. That is how medical technology was at that stage. You had to be in employment at a hospital and then go to the Technicon. So I went to Peninsula Technicon. They said, go look for an employer. And I went to all the hospitals in Cape Town and I wasn't successful. And then that's when I then applied to places like Garangwa Hospital, Pilonomi, and I was accepted then at Garangwa Hospital. So at the age of 18, 19, I left home to go to Pretoria.
Wow. So and then home was Cape Town then, right?
By that time, yes, home was Cape Town.
So you were posted back to Gauteng and you went to Garangwa.
So I came back. Yes, then I went back to Gauteng and I spent the next 4 years there.
Working in the hospital?
Medical technology. Sorry?
You were working in the hospital for 4 years?
Yes, I was at the Garangwa Hospital, but the laboratories, although the laboratories are linked to the hospital, but they are based at the medical campus.
Yes.
So that's where we were. But remember, it was a practice-oriented qualification. So 6 months I was in Garangwa in the labs. 6 months I was in Technicon. At the time, it was Technicon Northern Transvaal.
Yes.
Or Gauteng, TNG.
Yes.
At that time, it was TNG. So it would be 6 months in, 6 months out. for that entire 4 years.
And you graduated as a biomedical technologist.
Yes, I graduated as a biomedical technologist in 1988. And
just before we continue, let's there must be somebody who's listening there and say, what is it? Because we're just talking about it, that it was attractive, the biomedical side of it. You talk about the lab, you talk about working in a hospital. What does it entail?
Okay. Biomedical technologists assist doctors in making diagnosis. At this particular time with the pandemic, they've been very much profiled because those are the people that are doing the tests on, for instance, on testing whether the patients have got the coronavirus or not.
Yes.
So we biomedical technologists do that. There are different streams. It could be microbiology. That's where I specialized in microbiology. But other people did cytology, where they deal with the cells. Some people did chemical pathology, dealing more with the blood. So it's got different streams. So we get the samples from the doctor, and we can then advise the doctor as to this is what we are finding from this sample, and we also do an antibiotic kind of test to say this particular bacteria will respond to this medicine, to this antibiotic, and that one, but it will not respond to this one. So these people do very important work. We used to be very proud that actually without us, the doctors can't make a diagnosis.
Yeah, wow. And so it should not be confused with the role that a nurse plays in supporting the doctor.
No, it's much more.
This is more technical and more knowledge based.
It's much more technical. So basically, the doctor makes their decision right up to treatment, as I say, based on what the medical.
Do we have enough of such in South Africa?
I think we do. I think we did right up until the COVID-19 pandemic. That's when I saw a lot of advertisements now for these people. But I think up till before then we had a lot. In fact, there was a time when we may have even been oversubscribed.
Yes. Wow.
With medical technologists, there are very few, I could say, areas where they can work, because the laboratories have got to be accredited. So it's not like I can go into any space and work. So
and where do they normally work other than in the hospital?
They could also be in private hospitals. For an example, when I qualified, when I went back to Cape Town, I worked for a private laboratory. There are people that open up their private laboratories.
I see.
And you can work there. But mostly they are, at the time when I was a medical technologist, those labs would be linked to a hospital. But I believe now they are linked to places like, they called empath, they called National Health Laboratory Services, those areas. But still they are linked to a hospital. But others are private.
So if I'm in high school and I'm inspired by what you are saying now, which subjects must I make sure that I take in high schools to be ready for this type of a profession?
They require maths and they require biomedical biology, or what is it called now? Natural sciences.
Life sciences.
Natural sciences. I am not sure about physics, whether it's strong. At the time when I was studying, I went into it because I had biology, which is now natural sciences, as well as maths.
And,
so those are
and what kind of a personality must I have because I guess it's very important that I don't get surprises, you know.
You must be a person, particularly in the field that I specialized in microbiology.
Mm-hmm.
You must be a person that is now I don't know what's the English word, Marrow.
Yeah, you mustn't be too sensitive to. Actually, there's a word for it. Sensitive is a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, there are people who don't like handling the let's say this.
Yes, all sorts of things.
All sorts of things that are related to other people's wastes or something like that. Secretions and all that of things.
So you must be a person that is not that way inclined. Because in microbiology there is no secretion that you don't handle.
Yes. Actually, when you see those, that is your staff. That is your staff to work with.
Yes, there is no secretion that you don't work with.
Yeah.
So you gotta be that person that's not gonna get nauseous feeling.
Yeah. That's a very important information, because when people are wearing these white gowns, they really look very attractive. Whatever they are getting, and then when you get to do the work, you realize that, hey, no, this is not me.
And then they get there and they work with stuff that you don't even want to look at.
Yeah.
But they have to look at it, they have to handle it and work on it. So you gotta have that bit of strength when you're not easily by those things. But in terms of also the personality, it doesn't require, and probably when we talk later you will get to understand why I left it. You can work in it even if you are an introvert, because there's
very little talking, right?
Very little talking. It's you and the microscope and your specimens.
Wow. Okay. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that helps a lot, because it needs focus, it needs attention, it needs a lab microscope, like the lab, and like to work with those secretions, as you said. And now, once one has qualified themselves in that first qualification, what are the prospects in terms of progression? What could they study further, or what could they do further in their development?
They can do. Nowadays, I think it's a degree now. They can go and do it. They can do it. In fact, even with us, we're now offering more as a degree than as a diploma.
I see.
So then they can go into honors, etc.
But it's a specialist field, right?
It is. It's a specialist field. But I don't think that there is. If you are an ambitious person, it does become a little bit stifling. I think also in terms of your character, you must not be a person that really wants to be there, because it takes longer.
Yes.
When I talk about my career path, you'll get to see how I then ventured out of it. And that was one of the reasons that I don't see myself sitting here the rest of my life.
So what is a takeaway for you from this kind of qualification and work, that you look back now to say, wow, that first qualification really made me who I am?
I think it got me grounded. It got me grounded. I still am kind of attached to it, because when I knew that I could be a professional is when I was a biomedical technologist. It got me grounded. It taught me a lot of things, and it opened my eyes. And I think because of my personality, liking to know what happens around me, so it gave me that insight. But at another level, that qualification may have become a springboard of what I then went into later on. I think it was in 1991.
Yes.
I qualified in 1988. Went to Cape Town and started working. And then in 1991, I was at the UCT Medical School. We were working. Our labs were at the UCT Medical School. By that time, I had moved from the private lab. I joined what was called the Provincial Laboratories for Tissue Immunology. There, I got an opportunity to start the South African Bone Marrow Registry. It was being established in Southern Africa for the first time, and they needed someone that could market it within amongst the Africans in the country, because Bone Marrow Registry was dealing with the donation of stem cells for patients suffering from leukemia. So I was then asked to go into that space, kind of seconded, and I started it off, and a lot of it had to do with marketing and engaging people and getting people to be donors. And so I had to go and do a lot of lectures to schools, to universities, to even factories to try and convince people about donating their bone marrow. So the medical technology history became a springboard for me, because then when I went into being the director for the South African Bone Marrow Registry and all the work that I was doing, I began to say, okay, it looks like I can be a marketer. So I really need to set my sights on that. And from then I started to think along those lines, business or kind of in a market area, so in a market kind of environment. So I think one could say that is one thing that I take away from my...
So it laid the foundation for you.
It laid the foundation for me for where I'm at now. I think that's where it all started.
I always say that this kind of qualifications are very much great in bringing stability in your career management, because probably you knew that you could try anything new, and if it doesn't work, you have something to fall on. And it will not really, you will not find yourself in the street looking for the job. Is that how you felt?
Definitely, yes. That is how it felt. Actually, after I left, I was in the South African Bone Marrow Registry, and then after 1994, there was talk that this type of medicine, the tertiary kind of medical care, that's not what the country is going to be focusing on, and we all became a bit unstable. So, and I looked and I thought, okay, this is my time to leave. So I left.
Yes.
I left. We were offered packages. I took my package and I said, I'm going to go out and try a business.
Wow.
So I went out and tried a floristry/event management business.
Serious?
And when that didn't quite work, serious, I am an events management person. So, but when that didn't work, I thought, I have my diploma. Go back to the labs. And I tried to find work in the labs, but before I had secured something, I then got something at Peninsula Technical.
Wow. Tell me, will you say that the inclination towards work integrated learning has been triggered by what your own first qualification exposed you to? And that is, you were not really a campus-based person. You you go to campus to attend lectures, and most of the time you are practically doing things.
Very much so, Brasem. Very much so. I know firsthand what work integrated learning does, and for me, that is where my passion stems from, and that is what strengthens my resolve for work integrated learning.
Tell me, this is very interesting. There's a beauty of me playing the role I'm playing with you people that I know for a very long time, is that I discover you every time I sit here and talk to you. Now, because I will have not seen all these things in you at all. And I think I'm being humbled, and I'm being humbled, and I'm being taught a lesson about what people are, especially South Africans. And I always say to myself, what is it about South Africans that they are so unassuming? You have to speak to South Africans and let them tell them their story for you to say, no, I need to adjust my way of looking at this person, because now what I know of you just make me look at you differently. And I always say that it sounds like it's a disadvantage for us, because you have to have somebody who's very interested, like me now being interested in your story, to really know what is behind this figure. Is it me alone, or do you?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think, Brasem, some of us Africans, we don't put ourselves out there. We're very bad, or maybe lacking. Maybe lacking is the best way.
Yes.
In terms of marketing ourselves and telling people, listen here, this is who I am. We are not very strong in that. So yes, you're right. Until you meet someone that is interested in talking to you, then you realize, yes, there are some of us that walk into a room and let you know who they actually are. But some of us, we just sit, put our head down and work.
Yeah.
And I think that is also about cooperative education. A lot of people in cooperative education don't put themselves out there, because quite often we're just having our hands dirty. So we're busy working, we put our head down and we work. And we don't do a lot of marketing.
Yes. And that disadvantages the country, because you are an inspiration in terms of what you are carrying. I'm not saying people should be too self-centered, but you are. We talk a lot about the role model, and what role model are we doing when we don't tell the stories?
When we don't tell these stories, yeah.
That's why Likinza will come with a 4x4 and make statement and spin the car. And the kids are that is
and
me.
Everybody buys into them. Yes. Meanwhile, I'm standing out there right at the back and like saying, but what are these people? What are they in awe of with this person? But yeah, we just don't have that personality.
Yeah. But I guess maybe it's the culture, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I think in the world space, it doesn't work for us, where we have to occupy spaces. We have to do something. We don't have to lose who we are. But if we are to sit here, we're contesting for the Secretary General of the United Nations. People are going to battle to find something somewhere where you spoke about yourself.
Who are you? Who's this
what
person?
Are you known for? What have you achieved? Yes. And then they look at your CV, they say, but
what are you known for? And
they look at your CV, but they say, these CVs and what we have seen you doesn't look like they go together. Are you sure that is you?
Are you sure this is you? Yeah.
But I think that is one of the reasons why. It's one of the reasons why I love this type of. This is not an interview; it's a conversation. And as I say, a Lekgotla way of conversing, because I'm very much connected with your story, and your story fits in me, and I'm actually now matching the way with you and taking you to the level where I want you to go to and tell the people about yourself, because if you were to do it yourself, it's a little bit uncomfortable, isn't it? In terms of our culture.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Mm.
In terms of our culture.
Yes. Wow. This is beautiful. And now, so how do you come into contact with the work integrated learning, or how do you come into contact with the Cape Peninsula Technical? Did you apply, or did they find you?
So I applied. I was between jobs.
Mm.
The business had not kind of taken off very well.
Mm.
And I had tried to go back to the lab, and then they said, you've been out of circulation for about 7 years or so. So yes, we're going to take you, but we're going to start you at a very, very, very low level. So I think I was going to earn something like 5,000 rands or 3,000 rands, something that I was not going to be able to survive on at that time. So I thought, okay, no, maybe let me try. Let me try and find something else. So I was between jobs. I was in insurance. I worked for Metropolitan in insurance. Mm. Then from there, I worked at a call center.
So you were hustling. You were hustling.
I was hustling. I think by today's terms, I was hustling. So I did this and that. I was at Metropolitan. Then I got a job as a call center agent at Sanlam. Whilst I was looking. For me, I don't believe in saying I am a professional, so I'm going to sit and I'm going to wait until I get a job that is at my perceived level. So for me, it was like, I need to get a job, period. So I went in at Sanlam. I was working as a call center agent. And one Sunday, a friend calls me and she says, Fundi, I am looking at the Sunday Times and there's a job at Peninsula Technical and they're looking for someone with a science background. They're looking for someone who can market things, and I think this is you. Get hold of the Sunday Times.
Yes.
And I looked at it and I thought, this is me. And I applied for the job. And yes, then I got the job.
Who's that friend?
Sorry?
Who's that friend who was so gracious?
It is Mrs. Weziwe Busakwe. She's in the Western Cape now. Sorry, she's in the Eastern Cape now.
Yes.
Yeah, so at the time she was working in Cape Town. So yes, so I entered Pentech as a job placement officer there.
Wow. So you started helping students to find places to do their practical work. Yes. I was helping students in a variety of disciplines, in chemistry. That is why they wanted someone with a bit of a science background. So in chemistry and food technology, but with a whole lot of other, because as a job placement officer, you don't need to be a specialist, but you've got to be a person that can engage with other people. So so that's where I started. I did that. So did you work with our late friend Brian?
Yes, I worked with Brian at when we merged, when Pentech merged with Cape Tech. We then were working together, but not for long, because by that time he was very close to retirement. I knew him because the wheel space is a small space, so we know each other.
What a great man.
What a great man. He was very passionate. One sometimes misses that passion that he about working.
May his soul rest in peace. He really left us wonderful memories. Yeah. Indeed. Wow. So, but I'm hesitant to say that you landed at Cooperative Education by default, because it looks like yours was meant to become that. Exactly.
The most interesting thing, Prasem, is that when I was still working in the labs, for some reason I had this thing that said I wish I could work at Pentech. But at the time I was thinking about maybe I would work in the labs as a technician. But somehow I always had this thing of working in higher education. But as soon as I got the job at Pentagon, I started to do the work in job placement. I think I said to myself, I've found my calling.
The love of your heart, the calling. That was
yes.
That. So this is another thing that I always say to people: you will not, you don't know anything if you have not experienced the feeling of colliding with your calling. That feeling nobody can tell you. You have to experience it.
No. You love what you are doing to the extent that you don't even see it as work. You don't even care about your knock-off times and your knock-on times. You just work it. You're just working.
Lovely.
I think that's the love that one has for the type of work that I'm doing.
Beautiful. We're going to hold it here. This has been beautiful. I think you laid the foundation for us to go in the next episode into details of what cooperative education is, and then of course take it to the next level until where you are now. Because I think we need to educate people a little bit about what is the role of cooperative education and what it will, and how do you set up a great model of work integrated learning to help our country really transition learners into the world of work. We're going to come back to that one.
Okay.